back to Build It Motorsport, and today I'm going to show you how to ditch the nasty ugly fan shroud and get one of these nice Flex-A-Lite fans, electric fans in here. That's going to remove your old clutch fan setup. So nice electric fan setup. This is a Flex-A-Lite 183. It's specially made with brackets and everything for these reservoir bottles to go on your third generation Ram. That's 2003 2008. So well, without further ado, let's get right into it. We'll show you how to install this bad boy. Alright, so to install our new electric fan, the first thing you're going to want to do is remove all the old stuff, like the reservoir bottles here, the fan shroud, and then the fan down there. So to do that, the first thing we want to do is to remove the fan itself. So in order to do that, they have special tools. This is going to be on there tight. It's going to be really hard to get off because this pulley is just going to spin. If you get a wrench that'll fit that, you can get a big wrench or adjustable wrench that'll fit and do it that way, but a lot of times the best way to do it just to get the right tool for the job. If you don't already have that tool, then I recommend you just go to your local parts store that offers a loan a tool program, and then you go and you get the fan clutch remover set. So usually they're just like big wrenches, basically is what they are. You find the size that fits on here, then put it on. Now it's still going to just spin the pulley when you try to get it off. So what you're going to do is these bolt holes, these little holes, they're not bolt holes, but they're just little holes there. What I do is, instead of trying to toy around with other tools and stuff, I just improvise. I throw a small bolt in this hole, just far enough in there that it's not going to fall out, and it sticks out a little ways, about right around here. Now I've already pre-loosened this and backed it off quite a ways, but it's going to be all the way up against there. You just put that bolt in there to where it sticks out, and then run yourself a pry bar or a large screwdriver down between there and the center of the pulley down through here. So right in here between the bolt you have sticking out here and there, you're going to run a pry bar. Then you're going to just want to push it downwards, so to your right. Then you take your wrench that you have on here and push it to the left, and with enough grunting you're going to get it off, and then you can just spin it off by hand, or a lot of times you can just spin it. So to remove this, you want to spin it this way, which viewed from the front of the vehicle towards, if you're looking at the engine from the front of the vehicle, the way we're looking at it here, okay, we're looking at the front of the truck, you're going to turn it counterclockwise to remove it. Now this is on a third gen Ram with a Hemi. So then I'm just going to pull this guy out and fish it through, and then eventually with enough origami in, it'll come out. But you can also just throw it out the bottom, which is what I'm going to do. And there we go. Now I've cracked my shroud because I wasn't being careful. Guess what? Doesn't matter because electric fans are going in. Alright, for the next step, I'm going to show you how to remove this. We're going to have the two 10mm bolts, and we're going to move these reservoirs off of here, and then the next thing is the shroud. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then we'll be right back. So basically we just pulled it up and out of there after removing these two. The only difference is if you have some sort of air box here, even the factory one, you might have to move it out of the way a little bit to reach or to get it to pull out. But another thing to remember is these here, this is your washer pump for the washer fluid, and then there's another connector that's right here. This is a coolant, a level sensor for the coolant side. If I'm not mistaken, it might be washer level, but either way you have two connectors that are going to be on the bottom of that reservoir tank, and you're going to want to remove one connector and remove this other connector and then that tube, or you can just pop the whole pump out of the side, because mine was empty, so that's what I did. But once you get those free of the bottom of the reservoir and these two 10mm bolts, you can just pop it right up and out of there as long as you've got room with your air box. So you may have to remove that. So now that we've gotten all that stuff out of the way, the fan's off, the reservoir's off, basically we're just going to pull this shroud up. This shroud's going to come up and out of the way. There are some bolts. If I can show you, there's a bolt right here, down in there, that's holding this on. And there's another bolt that's right here holding this on. If I'm not mistaken, those are both 13mm, but I could be wrong, so don't quote me on that. But we're going to pull those two out, and then the bottom part is actually slid in to the radiator. So we're just gonna pull those 2 bolts out and pop this up and out of the way. So here we are, right back at it. Boom. There it is in all its ugliness. So now we've got a ton of room back here. I'll show you from the driver's side view. Look at all of that room over there. Isn't that awesome? Look at all that room that's in between there. We're gonna have so much more room to look, and a whole lot less junk, and you can easily clean the front of your engine now with how this is gonna be. But onto the fan itself, the E-fan itself. If you come over here, this guy, basically, here's all the stuff for it. You're gonna first want to assemble the fan and the brackets to go with the fan. So you have a 10mm bolt and a washer that comes with the hardware kit, and then this bracket. Now the sticker, the warning sticker, is the top, so this is gonna be the top side. This bracket goes on just like so, with the scoop part going upwards, because this is going to attach to your radiator, and you just bolt that guy down, try to get it even. You can leave it loose if you want to. I just went ahead and tightened it down. Then this bottom bracket is going to go along here. This is for the bottom to mount. Same thing, 10mm bolts, 10mm bolts and washers. Then we're going to take, there's a little, the electrical part here, this electric motor, the wires run down towards the bottom, and on mine I just had a little slot in the grommet right here, or the molding on the side, and I ran these to the corner and up through this little hole. That way they're not getting pinched in anything and they're out of the way, because you're going to want to run this to our control box later. So I got those assembled. I'm going to go ahead and throw that in for you guys. Make sure you read the instructions, but basically we're going to use the hardware provided to bolt those to the fan shroud, and then put this electric fan onto the radiator. So we have the electric fan nicely bolted into place. Basically, the hardware you get, I'll show you here, is you have these little winged bolts and a washer and a nut that fits them, and you're going to put those on the top and on the bottom in 2 different places. So 2 different places on the top and the bottom. On the bottom, for my vehicle here, on this truck, we have a power steering cooler. So that actually bolts to the bottom in the same locations where this would bolt. So instead, I used the existing hardware and left this attached. So you may have to do that depending, but they give you plenty of hardware to do that. Then the next thing we're going to do is take this bracket here, this funny looking thing. This is for the reservoirs, and we're going to put it on, and it's going to basically go in just like so and clip in. You see the clip on the radiator there. That's going to slide right in that position there, and then let me hop up on my truck here. You're going to slide it right in, and then the other, and then it's going to bolt. So it's slid down in that groove down there, and then it's going to bolt right here where the existing shroud went. You can use the hardware that you used before. I don't see any reason not to. So once you have this bracket mounted in there, this bolt holding it in, it's going to be secure in place. It's not going to go anywhere. So you take your reservoir here, and just like we pulled it out, we're going to go back in with it. So I'm going to flip it around because I've got it facing the wrong way. Basically, you're just going to drop it down in there, and once you have it in there, you're going to bolt it down. So I'm going to show you. I'm going to get my hands back, and once we have it bolted in and slid into place down at the bottom, I'll show you where it bolts down just like before and what to do next. So now we're halfway there. We've got our reservoir bolted in. It slides down into this bracket on the back side with 2 prongs. It'll slide down into that bracket. Then you're going to bolt through here and here on these brackets using this style of hardware right here. Might have to pry on it a little bit to get it to go, but with a little bit of effort it'll pop in. And then we're halfway there. We got to get the wires wired up, so that way it'll come on as designed. So I'm going to go ahead and just give you a quick overview of what we're going to do. So this here is the control box. Now this controls everything that we want to be able to do with this. So now, referring to the instructions, we're going to connect this control box to different power sources and different signals depending. So if you look right here, this guy right here is going to tell you everything you need to know. So it's on the back of the instructions. We gotta have battery negative, then we're gonna have to have the negative to the fan, the positive to the fan, and then battery positive, all going to the control box. Now, another thing you're gonna have to have is the ignition positive signal, so it'll know whenever the vehicle is on. So anytime the key's on, this guy will power up. It's not necessarily going to go on and off with the key. It's just going to know that you don't have the vehicle running, so the alternator's not supplying power. So that way it doesn't drain you if you have an issue. So then, temp sensor wire, there's going to be 2 of those. Those are going to go into the radiator. I'll show you where those are going to be here in just a little while. But basically, that's the main thing. You're going to have a positive and a negative coming from the battery. Okay, so the battery negative is the black one right here, and then the battery positive is the red one right here. So these 2 are going to go to your battery just like you would expect, negative, positive. Now these 2 right here are going to be negative to fan is the purple. Okay, so the negatives are together. That's easy to remember. But this negative, this one, purple, goes to the negative one on the fan, and then this one here goes to the positive on the fan. On mine, the positive is blue, so the yellow will go to blue, and the other one here was black. So as you can see here, it says colored is the positive, and then black is the negative. So depending on exactly how yours looks on the fan itself, may be different, but just remember, negative battery, negative fan. Positive fan, positive battery. These are your mains, these are to the fan. And then you're going to also have some just signal stuff that's going to go into here, and we'll go over that a little bit later. But just remember, refer to these, okay? This is the most important thing. Just refer to these. That's really what's going to help you the most. It's hard to explain wiring in a video like this, but this guy right here is going to tell you everything you need to know about the wiring. So I'm going to go ahead and get this wiring all done up. I'll show you how the temp sensor is going to go in, and then after that we'll be done basically. So I'll just go over some things. I'm gonna go ahead and get it all wrapped up. All right, all done, get it all tidied up, looking good. The control box is mounted and I've got it wired. So I'm gonna tell you the last steps, which is how to wire it. So the very first thing you're gonna wanna do is mount your control box. Now, it comes with some hardware and your supplied stuff. It comes with all of this. You get some screws. So I used my own screws. They were a little bit shorter, but I self-tapped them right into this location on it. Okay, about center, right in the middle of the side. It's kind of out of the way, a little bit discreet, doesn't not too visually bad. So I screwed it in. Because of the gap here between the radiator and that, I didn't have any problems. It's not going to hurt anything. And the fan's over here, so we're not in the way of that. You've got 2 holes on the bottom, 1 on the top you can use to hold it down. You can also use double-sided tape. There's lots of other options you can choose. It is at your discretion how you want to mount it. I didn't want this thing falling off, so I used screws, and I also used Velcro. So I have 1 screw to pull it out, and Velcro is holding it on the rest of the way, just to keep it from rattling around. So I only have to pull 1 screw off and then pull this thing off if I really want to. Makes it easier for me later. So as far as wiring, next thing I did once it's mounted, it's pretty quick and easy to get the fan done. So this is your positive to the fan. This blue one here is the positive coming from the fan. So we're going to connect those 2. This kit comes with connectors, butt connectors. You can just crimp connect them, and then I recommend that you wrap them in electrical tape to keep water out of those connections so it'll last longer. I soldered and heat shrink them because that's more of the professional thing to do, but butt connectors can work perfectly fine as long as you take the right steps to keep water out. Then the purple is the fan negative, and then the black here is the fan negative coming from the fan. I connected those, same concept. So you have your positive here. This is your positive to the fan. This is your negative to the fan. There you go. Now, this here, this black wire coming out, It's going to go to your battery negative. I routed that guy down through with zip ties and kept it up, and it comes up right here. Now that's straight to the battery negative. Then the battery positive. So same concept. It's all connected. It comes with wiring that you can use to connect, and plenty of butt connectors. Like I said, I soldered. So continuing through it just went through same path as the negative, and then you can bring it over here to the positive on the battery. Now for me, I decided to go here because it's out of the way. That's perfectly fine for this kind of fan. I wouldn't do that for a lot of other different accessories like subwoofers and things like that. But as far as this fan, that's perfectly fine to run it right there. So that's what I did. Then we have key on. Now this is important and a little bit trickier than the rest. Like I said, comes with wire. Pin 9, they're all labeled on this box. Pin 9 on this box is where the battery, or the key on, or the ignition power is going to go. So pin number 9, you're going to run your wire across, and it comes with fuse taps. You can go inside this fuse box here, also known as the tip-em, and you can tap into a fuse that only has power when the key is on. You can use a test light or a voltmeter to figure out which fuse to use. Now, I did not do that. I actually went behind and spliced into a wire behind there, serving the same purpose, just a little bit cleaner in my opinion, but you can do that. Now, the next thing to do is to connect your temp sensor. Now, the temp sensor is going to go in 10 and 11. So you had 9 was your positive for the ignition, 10 and 11 is your thermostat or your temperature sensor for this electric fan setup. Remember, it does not matter which way you connect the temperature sensor as far as connecting them to 10 and 11, as long as one is in 10 and one is in 11 for these two leads coming off of it. It does not matter which direction you connect them, because all this guy's doing is completing a connection. So it doesn't matter there. So then you're going to probe it in. You make sure, so on this vehicle here we have Hemi, we have a 3rd gen Hemi. It's going to run in 3rd gen Ram with a Hemi. Make me clarify, because it's not a 3rd gen Hemi necessarily, which I guess suppose it still is. So now the radiator is coming right here, and this is where it's getting its hot air, coolant coming into the radiator. So that's where you're going to want that probe to be. Notice how it's sticking out evenly on each side, and that's where we want it. And then you just run it through. You can cut everything to length, make it look nice. I zip tie everything out of the way. Eventually I will go back in and I will electrical tape all this stuff, so that way you don't see it as much. It looks more, you know, loomed up and more professional. Seeing as I do use this truck in shows, it is the off season, so as you can see, this girl is dirty, and I drive it to work every day. It's been snowing, so it's pretty nasty. But a lot more room now. A lot more room now to work with. A lot more room to get in here and work on things. All that stuff's out of the way. You have a nice electric fan, which is going to come on more desirable times. Now, to turn the fan, let me explain this correctly here. To make the fan come on at the desired temperature you want it to come on, I suggest you set it 10 to 15 degrees above the thermostat that you have currently installed. So I have a 180 thermostat in this truck. So I'm going to set this control box to about 190. So at 190, this fan's going to kick on. If you want, you can make it a little closer. You can make it like 185. I don't recommend making it right at the temperature of the coolant or the thermostat, because as soon as the thermostat opens, the fan's gonna kick on, and it could be kicking on all the time, and wear and tear. I mean, that's up to you, but I recommend at least 5 degrees above the temperature of the thermostat, if not 10 to 15. So I'm gonna set mine about 10 above. I'm gonna set it at 190. Now, to do that, you don't really know an actual temperature. So there's a screw that is on here, and if you look at the instructions, it will show you. But there's a screw that is a little flathead, and you turn it left and right to make the difference in temperature. So basically, it's something you're just gonna wanna play with. You're gonna wanna watch your temperatures, see when this fan is kicking on, and adjust that accordingly. If you have a some sort of thermostat you can stick right there next to it, like a cooking thermostat, you can stick right next to that temperature probe. That's going to be probably the most accurate way to adjust it. You basically want it to come on precisely at a certain temperature. Then you put that, you're gonna put, you know, your turkey thermometer or your cooking thermometer and just poke it in there right next to this guy. And then once it is in there, you look at the temperature, start the truck, let it get up to a certain temperature. Once it gets that temperature, slowly dial down your temperature screw on the control box until it kicks on. Once it kicks on, look, make sure what temperature it kicked on at, and there you go, you got it set. So that's one way to do it. That's probably what I'll end up doing. But for now, I turned it all the way down just so I can make it home, no problem. I don't expect it to kick on because it is very cold today. So there it is. Looks like we got a lot more room. Hoping I'll pick up about 10-15 horsepower since the fan's not, you know, basically a parasite on the engine pulling the power away. It's a lot cleaner, got a lot more room to work, a lot more room for some goodies and stuff like that. So anyways, thank you guys for watching Build It Motorsport. If you liked it, please give us a like. If you have any questions or comments, please leave a comment. And as always, follow for more in the future. Thank you for watching Build It Motorsport. See you on the next one.